I'm honestly like my favorite Chris Evans movie is gonna be the first Captain America movie. I know that it's some people might not consider that movie to be all that great, but I love Boy Scout characters. Some people might consider Boy Scout characters to be boring. I don't. I love Boy Scout characters, which is why I'm way more Team Superman personally than I am Team Batman, because Superman is, at least classically, more of a Boy Scout than Batman is. So watching like Chris Evans play Steve Rogers, and just how sweet he was and sensitive he was, and just an all-around nice, good guy who tried to defend people that couldn't defend themselves, especially people that were bullied, was just something that I loved seeing Chris in that role. So I'm gonna have, yeah, I mean, I'm gonna have to say Captain America. But another movie that I did enjoy Chris Evans in was Cellular. I think it was like a thriller movie. I liked him in that one too. I remember reading a few Junie B. Jones books as a kid. I wonder if they're still making those. I don't know who Junie B. Jones is. Is that like Nancy Drew? Okay, so Marvel question. Do you want to see the Winter Soldier take over the place of Captain America? I mean, I love Chris Evans. I love Chris Evans to death, so I would not want to see him being replaced by a new character. Bucky's fine. I like Bucky just fine. I mean, so the answer to that is I don't want to see Chris, being replaced by another new Captain America, even though I believe that is kind of what happens in the comics. But the reality is, I believe that it ultimately is going to happen, because I think the contract with Chris has ended recently after the Avengers. I think Chris's contract with playing Steve is going to end after the third Avengers movie. So I don't necessarily see Chris wanting to necessarily, I mean, maybe he does, but I wouldn't be surprised if he wanted to move on to something else and not to be pinned into playing Captain America longer than he needs to. So the reality is, I do understand that most likely he will have to be replaced by the Winter Soldier, and I mean, that's fine. I just prefer seeing, Steve Rogers in that role, as opposed to not. Horror stories could probably be less creepy in text form. Then again, people love creepy pastas. I don't know if I remember if any creeped me out, but that realization at the end of that one Candle Cove story was pretty cool, I think. Have you seen Telltale's announcement for their upcoming games? Yes, I actually reacted to it. I did a reaction to that summer Telltale announcement. It's in my videos somewhere. Yeah, I'm sure you can probably see it in my reaction playlist. Which one are you most excited for? The Wolf Among Us 2, the rest of Batman 2, or The Walking Dead 4? Honestly, The Walking Dead 4, because I mean the first season of The Walking Dead was pretty much my first introduction to Telltale Games, is right at the cusp of their rising fame. I actually had played other Telltale games before The Walking Dead Season 1, before they were as well known, but The Walking Dead Season 1 will always have a very special place in my heart, and being able to see Clementine's story come to a close in the fourth game, I think is something that is going to be really special. Hopefully will be special for me. So yeah, that's the one that I'm looking forward to the most. I recently saw your DuckTales Let's Play, and I just want to say having a crush on Launchpad is nothing. Back when I was really into Undertale, I had a crush on Sans, the skeleton. I can see that. I can see having a crush on Sans. Sans, he's a cool character. I can see that. I'm no better now. I have a crush on not only Lucas, but Petra, Olivia, and Axel. Crush on a duck is nothing. Well, thank you, Enderkitten. I appreciate that. I appreciate that you're cool with me having a crush on Launchpad. It's the beak. It's something about the beak, that strong jawline. I guess character development must be more important because great characters can sometimes have a subpar story. For example, what I love most about the Uncharted games is the characters. Take out those great characters and it's just another run-of-the-mill treasure hunt adventure. See, that's what I agree with that. I agree with that. Perfect Portal. Jovian, my brother was obsessed with those Goosebumps Choose Your Own Adventure stories, featuring such chilling titles as Beware the Purple Peanut Butter. I don't remember the purple the Goosebumps stories were fun. The concepts behind each of the horror stories of the Goosebumps books were just super fun. And they actually had some really interesting storylines that I ended up borrowing in my tabletop campaigns, actually. So, that's actually pretty cool. I haven't read any of the Game of Thrones and only watched a few episodes. My dad's more into it. One LPR is doing the Game of Thrones Telltale series, said he likes Daenerys in the books but hates her in the show. Interesting. Purple peanut butter sounds like it'd be delicious. Well, maybe. I think it would too, actually. What character and plot elements do you want to see in the Wolf Among Us 2? Okay, so my two top favorite characters in the Fables series are definitely Boy Blue, Cindy, and then there's a third character that I probably like even more than Boy Blue and Cindy, but if I tell you which one it is, it would be a major spoiler if you read the comics, because the whole point about this character is meant to seem not that significant in the grand scheme of things, and then something happens later on in the comic series that makes this character amazing, awesome, like from out of nowhere. I was like, whoa, when I first read this series, I never would have thought that character would have taken this turn, but this character did. And so anyway, those are all happening after the events of The Wolf Among Us, because The Wolf Among Us is sort of like a prequel. It happens before the comics actually start. You need to read the comics. If you love The Wolf Among Us, I'm telling you what, read the Fable series. It is an amazing series. If you like that kind of stuff, if you like the Once Upon a Time TV show, read Fables. It's so good. What plot elements do I want? I want to see more plot elements where there are branching storylines, where more of your choices matter. The order in which you investigate things matter, like they did last time. So that's something that I would like to see play out in The Wolf Among Us 2. I guess you'd have more of a connection when you're playing the games itself. I agree so as well, because you're taking the role of that character. Peanut butter with a hint of grape to not need a PB&J. I mean, I think Smucker's has that, the peanut butter and jelly in one in a jar, which I absolutely love. That was like one of my favorites as a kid, getting that jar of peanut butter and grape jelly in one jar, and you just spread it onto your bread. It's ingenious, such genius. Perfect amount too. Perfect, ratio, peanut butter to jelly ratio. Telltale hasn't said anything of Game of Thrones Series 2. No news at all. I'm not worried. They'll get to it when they get to it. I'm not in any rush. There's plenty of games. There will always be plenty of games for me to play. That's why, I don't stress when it comes to when a game is going to be released, because I'm never going to run out of games to play. You guys are sending me so many recommendations, and I do add your recommendations to my queue, to my list, but there are way too many games for me to get through. There will be games I will never be able to get to in my life, just because there's just way too many. I will never have a shortage of video games. So if a game takes longer to come out, that's fine, because I will always have something to play in the meantime. The same can't necessarily be said for Tales from the Borderlands. I would love to see Tales from the Borderlands sequel soon. That is the one I'm probably most excited for, besides... Honestly, yeah, I would say that I am slightly more excited for Tales of the Borderlands than The Walking Dead Season 4. Honestly. Just because I felt that the first Tales from the Borderlands was, in my opinion, way much better than The Walking Dead Season 2 and 3. So, and I just loved all the characters in the Borderlands, whereas in The Walking Dead Season 2 and 3, the characters and NPCs are kind of hit or miss for me. So, Reese is adorkable, and Troy does such a great job with Reese. We're already getting so many new seasons of everything else. I'd rather that wait than it being rushed. Yes, truth, Konpeito Kiss. Though to be honest, I'm surprised they aren't already putting too much on their plate. Then again, Telltale has a new CEO. They could have hired other new staff as well. You didn't pick me or Asher in your favorite lists. Oh, I love Clementine, but if I was being honest, I'm just being honest. She's not my favorite character. I love her to death. I love Clementine to death. She's amazing. She kicks serious butt. But if you were to put a gun to my head and ask me who is your favorite character, she doesn't pop up into my head immediately. There are other characters that pop into my head. I'm just being honest. As for Asher, yeah, I love Asher too. But again, if you were to put a gun to my head, I don't think I would necessarily, think of Asher immediately as my absolute favorite NPC character. So, just being honest. Sorry, but, I wouldn't, if I was in a Telltale game, I wouldn't pick myself as a favorite character either, if that makes you feel better. Or if I was a character in a Telltale game and you didn't pick me as your favorite character, I would be like, totally understand. Don't feel offended at all, because there's some really great characters too out there in the game series. Hey, Warm Fireplace, welcome to the live stream. Have you heard of Roundtable Podcast? They're a group of LPers who talk about games and such. The last episode briefly talked about Telltale CEO as well. I did not. I'm going to have to look those people up. Roundtable Podcast. Hark, can you say what characters that you play as in Telltale's The Walking the Dead? What characters that you play as? Can I say worst to best? Oh, worst to best? I don't like that. Worst to best. What characters that you play as in Telltale's The Walking? I mean, you only play as Clementine. I guess you play as Lee, Clementine, and Javier. I mean, my least favorite is probably going to be Javier, just because I don't know him as well as Clementine or Lee. I felt a lot closer with Lee or Clementine than I did with Javier, but I still like Javier a lot. So I'm gonna have to put him on the bottom of the list. But I do like him. Playing as Clementine and Lee is interesting because while I love Clementine as a character, having her be the main protagonist in season 2 was awkward at times because, again, it seemed like all the adults kept wanting the 10-year-old child to do everything. And that was just really strange to me. Yes, Clementine is super capable, but it just seemed to happen way too much, realistically. I get that she's capable, and I get that she's a total bad A, but having the adults constantly asking her to do everything was just overkill to me. So as a protagonist, I felt Lee was better as a protagonist in season 1 than Clementine, just because it just seemed really odd the way that played out. Because as a protagonist, you kind of have to do everything, otherwise it's not much of a game if you don't do everything. So now that Clementine is older, it makes a lot more sense to be able to play her as a main protagonist in season 4. I think that would work a lot better than having her be a playable character in season 2. So, I mean, yeah, so just because purely as a game mechanics kind of thing or story mechanics thing, Lee is better than at least season 2 Clementine, because it makes more sense. It worked better having Lee as a protagonist in season 1 than having Clementine as a protagonist in season 2 for the reasons I just explained. I haven't watched the new Pirates movies. Surprised they still made another one. I mean, as soon as they got rid of oh gosh, I forgot the characters' names. As soon as they got rid of Orlando Bloom's character and the girl's character, I wasn't as interested in the Pirates of the Caribbean, because as cool as Jack Sparrow is, I really love that trio. I love those 3 main characters. And as cool as Jack Sparrow is, he for me cannot carry an entire movie and keep me really interested in seeing a movie. because I liked how the other two characters balanced Jack out, and without those two characters, it just isn't as fun of an experience for me. So I actually stopped watching the Pirates of the Caribbean series at that point, because I missed the other two characters way too much. I asked you another stream what is your favorite Disney song was. Based on your answer, is Mulan also your favorite Disney movie? Maybe not necessarily. I mean, my favorite Disney song is Out There from The Hunchback of Notre Dame, but my favorite Disney animated feature is The Jungle Book. I mean, Mulan is one of my favorite Disney movies of all time. I don't know if it is the favorite. If I was forced to pick one favorite classically animated Disney movie, it would probably be Aladdin. I loved Aladdin to death, and Robin Williams just killed it as the genie. So that would probably be my favorite animated Disney movie of all time, followed by Beauty and the Beast, followed by Mulan, followed by The Little Mermaid, I think. If you want to get into the Pixar movies, again, I absolutely loved Toy Story, the Toy Story series in general, followed by The Incredibles, followed by Ratatouille, although I don't know if the Ratatouille was technically under Disney at that point. I don't remember. So yeah, that's the answer to that question. Did you see the new Jumanji trailer? I did not. I did not even know they were making a new Jumanji, but that's amazing if they are. I will have to check out that trailer later. Hark, the character of Clementine ends season 3 going off to find a character, and most likely in season 4 will find that character. Do you think that she should find that character early on or later on in the series? I would love for her to find that character early on. I just don't know what the plot would be if she found that character early on. It seems like the main plot of season 4 is finding that character. Now, if they're able to have her find that character and still have a really interesting plot, then sure, I'd rather that she just found the character in the beginning. But if you don't predict that the Telltale is going to do that, I feel like they're at least going to wait a couple episodes before Clementine finds that character. But who knows? Your guess is as good as mine. Do you think that Telltale would dare to kill off Clementine in season 4 of The Walking Dead since it's the last series? I would not be shocked if they did, because again, the whole point of The Walking Dead is that nobody's safe. I would not be surprised if Telltale would kill off Clementine, but I have a feeling they'll keep her alive. Only because they've already done the whole, protagonist dies bit with Lee. And I guess you could say it might be poetic to have her die at the end of season 4 like Lee died at the end of season 1. I apologize that I'm giving spoilers, but hopefully you were fairly warned about that since we're talking about stuff. Hopefully you're fairly warned about that. So I have a feeling that they'll keep her alive just because it just seems repetitive if they didn't. I don't know. That's just my thoughts. Do you think someone will die in Pokemon campaign? What is your favorite part till now? Funny you asked that question, Warm Fireplace. And that's how I'll answer your question. I'll answer your question by saying, funny you asked that question. Oh, yeah. Okay. Anyway, moving right along to another question. What's your favorite part till now? The favorite part of the Pokemon campaign... my favorite part probably happened in the last session that we recorded, not the last session that I posted. I think the last session I posted is session 8? Is it 8? I feel like it's 8. I don't remember. But we just recorded session 11. And there are some big gems, role-playing gems that happen in session 11. One gem involved... I don't want to give anything away, but there's this big scene that happens with Chase's character being really angry at at the party about something. He gets really upset at the party about something. And the way that he reacts and the way that Chase handles his anger was very entertaining. It was very amusing. So again, session 11, I think when you see what happens in that session, you'll know what I'm talking about. And that probably is the most memorable part in my head for the Pokemon tabletop campaign. I hope you guys are enjoying it, by the way. It's different from the Dragon Age one, but hopefully not in a bad way. I'm definitely enjoying to see how that... I'm definitely enjoying playing with the characters and the players, and I can't wait to see how it all progresses and ends at the end. I haven't watched the campaign yet, but I assume he won't talk about it too much to prevent spoilers. I still need to finish the Mass Effect campaign. Yeah, I think I was pretty vague about that. So I would love to answer questions about the campaign, because for me it's fun coming up with non-spoilerish vague answers to it, like I did with what Warm Fireplace was asking. Walking Dead is pretty good, but if you want less violence, more lightheartedness, I'd say Tales from the Borderlands, though there's still a bit of violence still. I mean, Tales of the Borderlands can definitely get dark, but they make fun of it too. This is a sad question, but what is the list of deaths in The Walking Dead from worst to best? It depends on what you mean by worst death. Do you mean by worst, you mean like I was the most sad about their death? I mean, worst to death. I mean, for me, of course, the death of... I'm going to spoiler territories of the Walking Dead series, so I'm going to say that right now. For me, the worst death was... It wasn't Lee, because I saw that coming. I was prepared for it. I think that's why I can't say Lee. Of course, I hated the fact that Lee died, but I so saw that coming. But the one that really, of course, affected me the most was Doug. Oh man, because it just came out of nowhere, and I was like, what? And I love Doug's character so much. So when it happened, I mean, that definitely affected me a lot. And I would say it affected me even more than Luke, just again, because with Luke, you kind of saw it. You saw it kind of coming because he was in danger, whereas with Doug, it just happened. It it was just like from left field happened. So I'm gonna say, for me, the worst death was Doug, followed by Luke. That people shouldn't see that. Should be surprised at that. Followed by Lee, because I mean that scene was so well done between him and Clementine. Oh, so well done. And you got to love Lee's character, and I still miss his character to this day, and it was just devastating when it happened. And so I'll put Lee at number 3, and then after that, I'm trying to think who's after that. Omid's death, again, was heartbreaking, because again, it sort of came out of nowhere too. I wasn't expecting Omid's death, and I really loved Omid's character. I was looking forward to hanging out with him and Krista more in season 2, and then before the main title screen appeared, that was it. I was like, what the heck, game? How horrible is that? So I'll put Omid at number 4. Number 5, Sarah's death was so sad. So sad. I have to put her at number 5. Walter's death was so tragic because he was such a nice guy. I'll put him at number 6. And I mean, after that, you know what? I'm gonna put Ben's death in there too. Ben's death for number 7, because I was rooting for that guy. I felt like he never, unfortunately, had a chance to really, prove himself as a character. And I figured that was the whole point, is that not everybody gets to redeem themselves before they die in The Walking Dead. And I thought that was really tragic. And so I'll put down Ben for that. And then, I mean, there were a whole lot of other deaths, but I don't know if any of them were nearly as meaningful, except for obviously Kenny's death. So I'll put Kenny there too, just because of the meaningful deaths that I can think of off the top of my head right now. So yeah, hopefully that answered your question well enough. Good question though. There's also Michonne as a playable character. Oh yeah, Michonne. I mean, Michonne was probably my least favorite character to play with, just because I already know Michonne. I learned a little bit more about her character, but it wasn't as fun playing as her because she was way too established. Whereas, you know, you got a chance to learn about Javier, you got the chance to learn about Lee and about Clementine. Michonne, I knew most of her backstory and I knew most of what her character was about, so it wasn't as fun because I wasn't discovering a character for the first time with her, so she was probably the least fun to play, but I still enjoyed playing the game as her. She's still a cool character. There was that one Condor like Kenny, you shouldn't have to do that. Clem shouldn't have to do a lot of things. Yeah. Overall, what is your opinion on all the Telltale games? Do you think they'll get better with their new games? I feel that Telltale's games have still been really solid. I feel that their games have gotten shorter recently. I felt that The Walking Dead was a good standard in terms of length, but a lot of the games have gotten progressively shorter, and I feel like that's one big one criticism I could give with Telltale is they could make their games a little bit longer. And by longer, I mean I think in The Walking Dead Season 1, most of the episodes played out to be about 3 hours of play when you first play them. And many of the recent episodes of games have been closer to like 2 hours or less. There was like a Minecraft story mode game that was only an hour, if that, less than an hour, which I thought was a little disappointing. So if I was to say anything about Telltale games, I think that they could stand to make the games longer, and they could stand to spend more time, slow down the pace so you could actually like get to know side characters more or NPCs more, to care about them more like they did in Season 1. That's more of a complaint of like Season 2 of The Walking Dead and Season 3 is they didn't spend enough time bonding with the characters or investing, getting to really care or invest in the characters. So but there hasn't been a Telltale game that I didn't like. I like them all, but I thought they did a great job with the Batman series. I thought they've been doing a good job with the Guardians of the Galaxy. I still have fun with the games, and some people, you know, feel that their games the choices don't matter as much. I think that they've gotten better at that over time, especially with Tales from the Borderlands and with the first Batman. I felt the choices mattered more. But I mean, I'm not super like, I guess as long as the story that is told is a good story, it doesn't matter to me as much if my choices don't matter a significant amount. If a choice changes the flavor of how a story is told, that's enough for me. It doesn't have to branch off extremely much in order to satisfy me, but your mileage may vary. So that's sort of why I still really love the Telltale games, because they do enough. The choices matter enough for me, and I think that Telltale is still a solid game. I love a game that does so well with maintaining the feel of a series. Whatever franchise they take, like they make it feel like that franchise. Batman feels like a Batman movie or TV show. Game of Thrones feels like a Game of Thrones episode. You know, Tales from the Borderlands feels like a Borderlands game. You know, the Wolf Among Us, the look is so, like, the style, the comic book style is so good. They're great at that, and I think people should give them more credit for that, in being so good at representing the original source. I think that is one of their greatest strengths, besides the obvious, which is telling great stories and being a gaming industry that likes to make stories with choice. So yeah, the characters 400 Days DLC would you want them to return, and do you think Impact you like to play? I mean, I really liked Matt. Is Matt one of the? He's the black kid. I mean, I feel weird saying that, but he is. I mean, that's the best way to pick out which one we're talking about. He was the sweetest one, I thought, the nicest one. I don't remember if Matt was his name, but the black character was probably my favorite of all of the 400 Days characters, and I would love to see him again. Did they impact you as much as Lee, Javi, Michonne, and Clementine herself? No, they definitely did not affect me as much. Only because you only got to play with them for a very brief amount of time. Would you prefer it if Clementine died at the end or kept her alive? I prefer keeping her alive. I think that's a pretty obvious answer. Yeah, I prefer that she was alive. Because I kind of want to be able to believe that she has some semblance of a happy ending at the end. I'm a positive person, so that's what I would like for her. Or Telltale's, I guess, nothing good comes with this kind of DM laugh. Well, I have to go. See ya. All right, Keiki, thank you for staying around for as long as you did. See ya, Keiki. Depends on how big his eyes get when he laughs. I think they should make it optional for Clem to die depending on your choices. See, that would be cool. I would be behind that. I think that would be really cool if there was a way for you to keep her from dying, but if you kept her alive, there would be a dire consequence of it that you would have to now live with. If she had to live, then there should be something consequence-wise that she would have to live with. But if she sacrificed herself, or if she died, then, you know, I would like to make the choice not feel too one-sided. Like, oh, obviously everybody's going to replay the game again just to keep Clementine alive if they didn't the first time. But, you know, it'd be cool if, based on story preferences, if there was some sort of reason why you may end up favoring having Clementine die. It depends on the reason why she dies, or the consequences of her dying. Nothing good comes from that kind of DM laugh. Well, I have to go. See ya. Haas. Yeah, okay. Depends on how big his eyes. Yes. Doug was selfless to the end. I agree too. I miss him so much. Question. You saw Lee's death coming how? Like through shadow points? I mean, he got bit on the 4th episode. Like episode 4. At the end of episode 4, he was bitten. And so I was ready for him. I was like, there really isn't much you can do unless you amputate, you know, the arm immediately. And he wasn't able to amputate his arm immediately. So I'm like, there really isn't much that he can do now. So I'm like, he's going to die. So yeah, that I saw it coming since before the episode even started. I didn't see him getting bitten coming. But once it happened, I was like, I don't think Lee's gonna survive. I don't see how he can. What Telltale game as of right now do you think had the best character development? Oh, interesting. Best character development. That is really tough. I'm gonna say Tales from the Borderlands, honestly. I feel like, you know, Vaughn obviously goes through a really cool character development arc. Sasha goes through an interesting, you know, character development arc, and of course Reese and Fiona do. I think that they changed as the story progressed, and their relationship with each other. The 4 of them, all 4 of their relationships with each other evolved. You know, I'm not just talking about Reese and Fiona. I'm talking about, you know, Reese and Sasha, Fiona and Sasha, Vaughn and Sasha, Vaughn and Reese, Vaughn and Fiona, all of the combinations. So yeah, I'm gonna have to say Tales from the Borderlands, which is another reason why I think Tales from the Borderlands is still, for me, currently the best, my favorite Telltale games of all time. Even though I have never played Tales from the Borderlands before, and that says a lot with how great that game is. Makes it even more of a awesome game, because I was a fan, even though I wasn't a fan of the original source material. Did we ever find out what happened to Krista? Unfortunately, no. That is one of the big things I would like for them to... That's a major loose end I hope they tie in season 4. If they don't tie up the Krista thing in season 4, I'm going to be very upset, because that's a huge, huge hole that needs to be, filled. It's still ambiguous. I wish Telltale would come out and say what happened to Krista in The Walking Dead. She did a magic trick and was maybe killed off screen. I hope they give us a more definitive answer in season 4 instead of a guessing game. Worst death, Ava's death. Oh no, she fell to the walkers. Ah, terrible. Okay guys, let's keep walking. It's been 10 seconds already. Okay, that's actually a pretty bad death. That's pretty bad. Although I didn't see that specific one because Trip ended up surviving in my playthrough. So... Did any of the choices from the Pokemon campaign players take you out of guard or didn't expect? Yes. Yes, they did. I don't remember off the top of my head which one it was, but I believe there was something that did surprise me. Not as much as the choice that was made by one of my players at the end of Dragon Age Season 2. That really shocked me. I did not see that coming at all. And the consequences that led up to that was pretty huge. So far, that choice is probably the one that surprised me the most of any campaign I've played. Another big The Walking Dead death for me was who at the end of the New Frontier episode 1. That one really shook me up. It was just insane. The end of a New Frontier. Who? I'm trying to remember who that was. Who was it that died at the end of season 1? Oh, you know what other death I have to put in there? The death of the kid, the boy, in the end of the first episode of Michonne. I felt so bad for that kid. I felt horrible for that kid. He seemed really sweet. And what happened to him just wasn't fair at the end of episode 1 in Michonne. So, yeah, that's another one that really got to me. Is there anything in the series you had a complaint with or just wish was better? Like, any area they could do better? Anything in the series I had a complaint with? Which series are you talking about, Evan? Are you talking about The Walking Dead? Are you talking about this one, Minecraft Story Mode? I need some more specifics. I actually waited till after the release schedule was complete for Telltale Batman because episodes are quite short. Good decision, I think. By contrast, I picked up Season 2, Episode 1 immediately, and I don't feel connected to it right now, and a long wait for Episode 2. Fair enough. Probably fair. Like I said, I haven't watched any, but did you guys do any post-episode discussion podcasts like vlogs after each session like before or not? Yes. So Session 1, we couldn't do a vlog together. So after Session 1, the Pokemon Tabletop campaign players made their own vlog. And then Session 2, and since Session 2, we have been doing vlogs again like we did in Dragon Age Season 2. Hark, would you want to see the voice actor of the Joker, Anthony, return to another Telltale game? Of course. Yeah, he's great. I love him. Would love to see what else he can do with other characters. That was Russ. Matt was Until Dawn. Thank you. Matt was Until Dawn. Russ. Matt was... I didn't mean to get you mixed up, Matt. Sorry. Russ. Thank you. And I liked Russ. His name isn't Matt. You're thinking of Matt Until Dawn. The black kid in Foreign Days is called Russell. I'm so sorry. I hope that I didn't mix them up to be mean. I swear. It was a mistake, an honest mistake. Now that you had a taste of blood in that other RPG campaign, do you think it's easier for you to deal with that situation? Yeah, because I'm purposely making it so the campaign doesn't depend on that. If you know what I'm talking about. I'm trying to make the campaigns possible without you know how I'm going to answer that question, how I'm responding to that. So it is easier now, which probably should make future players very uncomfortable. But yes, it is easier for me. Wasn't there a black kid in The Last of Us as well? Though I think him and his brother died. Yes, I don't remember their names though. And then there was Riley as well in The Last Among Us. The Last Among Us. Maybe the last choice is choosing between Krista and AJ. Oh, I mean, that would be too easy of a choice. I mean, that would be way too easy of a choice. I think way too many people would easily choose AJ over Krista. Do you think we'll see Krista in the comics? I hear Lily turns up there after all. I would love to see Krista in the comics if she survives. I'm okay with knowing about Krista. I'm okay with now knowing about Krista. I think it's very realistic. Or with not knowing about Krista, I think it's very realistic. With no phones and computers and everything else, it's easy to lose someone even if they're not dead. Have you catastrophe meet a place to set up people? Yes, that's true. Fair enough. Fair enough. I mean Telltale Games as a whole. Telltale Games as a whole. Okay, Evan was asking anything in the series I had complaint with or just wish was better. I mean, I already mentioned the whole, you know, their episodes. I would like for their episodes to be a nice 3-hour long episodes. So that was one big thing. If I had to answer the question further than that, yeah, I mean, the biggest things that come to mind is just like, I think the episodes, the 3-hour episode the first time was a perfect length for me, and just having more time to pace yourself better and to be able to really interact with the characters more and to bond with the characters more. I think that's really the only thing that I have, the only complaint really that I have with any of the Telltale games, and everything else is just fine for me. That's not really confirmed. It's just another character also called Lily. She's very minor, and there's nothing really suggesting that they're the same person. This is my last question. Do you want to live stream The Wolf Among Us? Yes, I pretty much have made it a point to live stream every single Telltale game, just because it's easy for me to live stream a Telltale game because they're so short. If I had to live stream something longer, like Dragon Age or Mass Effect, those games are way too long, just because, you know, if I live stream one part of the game, I'll want to live stream the entire part of the game just for consistency's sake, because I'm just anal like that, I guess. But with Telltale games, I can actually live stream the entire game, and that's why I live stream them, because they give it to me in digestible chunks. So if you could change one choice in any Telltale game and you had the ability, what choice would that be? The choice to be able to rescue Luke at the end of Walking Dead Season 2, without question. That was a major choice. I think that was kind of a lot of you saw that coming. Yes, being able to save Luke, which I felt that I believe the writers intended on letting Luke survive that, and allow for the big choice at the end of Season 2 to be between Kenny and Luke, because they were definitely looking like they were setting it up to be a Kenny versus Luke thing in the end, and they didn't. So that's one thing. But if you wanted me to ask another question, another example, another choice that isn't as obvious as that one, that one's harder, because I don't think I disliked any of the choices as much that I can remember from any of the other games. Choosing between Roderick and Asher was a really cool choice, and not cool in the sense that I wanted that to be a choice, but the way that it was executed was really interesting and just opened up things to change vastly, things to be completely different, not only in Season 1, but in Season 2. So that's one example of a choice done really well that I would not change. Nothing stands out. I can't think of anything that really stands out to change one choice in any Telltale game. I mean, the Luke one is really it. They should have gone with what they obviously we're working towards, which was a big choice between Kenny and Luke at the end, and I don't know why they did that. Maybe they felt that Jane was more popular. I don't think that's the case, though. I don't know if she necessarily was more popular than Kenny or Luke, but okay, one more question. I'm way too talkative. What is your that's perfectly fine. What is your favorite Josh Hutcherson actor of Peeta? I mean, I know who Josh Hutcherson is. What is your favorite Josh Hutcherson actor of Peeta in The Hunger Games, not including The Hunger Games? I haven't watched any other movies that had Josh Hutcherson in it other than I believe, if I remember correctly, I believe he was in, what is it called? Center of the Earth, Travel to the Center of the Earth, I think. Yeah, I think that is the only other movie I've seen with Josh, other than Hunger Games. So yeah, it was the only other movie. So I'm gonna say Journey to the Center of the Earth, because I unfortunately haven't seen Josh in any other movies. Although I know he's been in other movies, I just haven't seen them. That's I'm done. See everyone in the live stream of the new Batman series. Thanks. All right, thanks. Five Fall into Fancy. I think someone did data mine the game and found an audio clip of Luke gasping for breath as he was pulled out of the answer. Yeah, I know. The other thing that they've also pulled out was a really awesome. The thing they also cut out was a really awesome clip of Vaughn confiding, having a really awesome, really awesome heart-to-heart talk with Reese, confiding in Reese about some things in his past that suggest that Vaughn might have experimented sexually with other men. And they took that out, which I thought would have been amazing for Telltale to have included that. But I don't know why they took it out. I thought it would have been fantastic if they added that in. Maybe because they were afraid that people felt that, you know, people were taking the bromance between Vaughn and Reese too seriously. But I'm like, so what? So what if they did? I mean, you know, I don't think it would have been bad to let people have that or even feed it, because I think it's cool, you know. But that's just my opinion. I felt that they made the wrong choice, in my opinion, of taking that little bit out, because I loved the relationship between those two characters, and that would have just made their relationship even richer, I think, if he was able to express that, I guess, in character. And I thought that Chris Hardwick did a great job with it too. Having somebody who is normally known for comedy, like Vaughn, having him talk about something that was borderline serious, really makes his character more in-depth, more layered. So I won't take some more just to listen to you guys wrap up, everyone. By heart, all of the best. See you, I Fall into Fantasy. They made Jane more important partly because of how many players actually ask, can I come with you? And she's telling Clem she's leaving. Fair enough. But still, it would have been more interesting, I guess, if, depending on your choices, one of the three could have died, and then you'd have to pick, or maybe even have a choice. It could have been Jane or Luke, and then you'd have to pick Jane or Luke, and whoever was left ended up with the Kenny or this person choice, you know. But that's not how it worked out. Maybe Reese Vaughn can be by in the next season if you didn't get with Sasha. That's true. But anyway. Okay, guys, I think it's time for me to peace out. Thank you guys so much for joining me. I hope you guys had a good time. And a special shout out thank you to Clementine, to Jovian, the Zilfwind, Amberall25, Kiki Keiki, Hollow the Wise, I Fall into Fantasy, Conpeto Kiss, Perfect Portal, The Avenger, Warm Fireplace, and Ender Kitten. Thank you guys so much for staying with me till the very end. You do not have to do that, but I appreciate it. And I guess I will talk to you guys later. So, well, let's see. Ender Kitten has one more question. Do you have any suggestions for Telltale games? Minecraft Story Mode is my first Telltale game. A question earlier, but you skipped it. It was okay. I'll answer this one question really quickly. Again, Tales from the Borderlands, I thought, was my favorite Telltale games of all time. So if I was going to recommend like a game other than, you know, The Walking Dead Season 1, which is also good, I would recommend, it would be pretty much between The Walking Dead Season 1 or Tales from the Borderlands. If you're looking for something that's not too dark, then go with Tales from the Borderlands. If you're okay with something that's more dark and more intense, then go with The Walking Dead Season 1. Okay, guys, thank you so much for watching, and until next time, love yourselves and love each other. Mwah. Bye-bye. See you guys.